Hi, my name is Alan Christian, mad scientist at the House of Balls. Please come in. Where? First piece is called The Guardian, a piece I made for my daughters based off the Washburn Water Tower in South Minneapolis. I wanted them to be protected in life, and they're 28 and 25 now, and it's doing a pretty good job. This is a piece I kind of put together with the light, the kneeler. It's a piece I actually brought out to Burning Man, and there were just too many people with a lot of sexual energy that kind of got it screwed up. It wasn't the dust, it was just that energy. If you look around, you're going to see a number of figures, standalones or on bodies, and they'll begin to look like bowling balls to you because they once were. And that's why it's called a House of Balls. It's not because it's a block from Deja Vu or 2 blocks from Sex World. It's because you got to have balls to do this stuff, and you got to have balls to cross that threshold. So I expect you to have them when you come in here. Piano pieces, I tend to find myself working a lot of series pieces. I'll do a series of balls, I'll do frying pans, I'll do found object sculptures, I do piano pieces. This was a piece I did a couple years ago called The 3 Faces of Steve, for an old piano player I know, Steve Blake. For some odd reason, this is one of everyone's favorites. It's called Drink My Blood, Jesus. It's a water fountain that I've converted into what I've got a pump for it. I'd like to have a sangria party or a Bloody Mary party. And hopefully soon it will be running and we can all have a drink. Here we have Mr. Drip. He's called Mr. Drip because of his coffee pot head, but the ladies are fascinated by his hair dryer. You can dry his hands. He's actually fully adjustable. He can be raised and lowered. And some people like him, some people don't. I tend to like him. There's a number of heads in here. There's a sculptor in Baraboo, Wisconsin called Dr. Evermore. And he gave me these pieces. These are all from a company called Fiskars, which you probably know as scissor manufacturers. But they also do a lot of lopping, shearing, anything with blades they've got their hands on. And so I did a series from those pieces, a number of which you'll see. One of which is up at Gypsy Lee's, by the way. This whole narrative is based around a show that we're having at Gypsy Lee's that I'm a featured artist this month, September. So as we go through the tour, don't forget, please come to Gypsy Lee's and see what I brought from my secret stash here. Let's go. This bowling ball, let me mention, I'm also an art car artist, and this ball was on the first art car I ever made. It sat on the cab of the truck, and many thousands of miles this ball has seen and protected me on. It got its life taken away. It died in its sleep one night when one of my neighbors filed for divorce papers in the morning, and then had a little too much to drink that night and forgot that the road ended where Harry Balls was parked. Kids love this. Most kids love this. I've had a few that have screamed in terror when I push its button to get it screaming. But most of them think it's pretty damn cool. The bathroom. I don't know if I could say this on this tape, but this is called Eat S period period T. It's an old toilet, and I made a face for it to go in between the seating area. And here's the functional toilet, men and ladies. Here's looking at you. Another one of the Dr. Evermore's. Occasionally I'm involved with politics. Here's a piece called Big Mother is Watching You, Big Mother. Done up in red, white, and blue. There's also a number of coins up here. It's time for a paradigms shift. So I would be standing, holding the dimes. This one I'm holding one of the pennies, making big change. I think when we confront our leaders that we have to do it with not quite the printed banner method that we're accustomed to, and take on a little more satirical or a little more sublime approach. Don't have to put it in their face, but you got to make them think about what we're saying. This is the back room. Big screwdriver here that somebody gifted me. It's actually a drill bit, which is functioning. Let me turn it on for you. And these, as you will notice around the space hanging from the ceiling, are what I call bobbleheads. So when you move around, they kind of bobble on your head. There's also one up at Gypsy Lee's. Where do we go next? I also have done for a number of years puppets. There's a troupe in New York called Fjork, which I founded, where I make silverware puppets, but this is a kind of play on this, on these larger puppets. This is a piece made out of high-end hangers that you'd find in a really fancy hotel. And he's an ape hanger. His hands are down to his knees, but he still looks good. Another mask. Again, there's a number of a series I call the brush series. I had an old friend whose father died. He was a brush designer, and they were going to throw this 50 boxes of brushes away, and they thought of me, and this is some of what I've done with them. I still have quite a few boxes waiting to be, they're boxes of potential, and but this will give you a sense of what can be done with some of that stuff in your back room. I really want to say the House of Balls is about having the public come in and see the process of art being created, rethinking about what we value, how we value our lives, what is the detritus that we discard, and really think about how to give it, how to bring it back into our lives instead of throwing it away. You don't need the next newest thing. You need to take the old thing and give it something of more value than it actually cost you on the front end. And it's easy to do. You just have to kind of re-engage with creating. On the table there's a series of balls this was the last series I did. There was a series of 6. There's still 4 left. I always try and retain a part of the ball so that when you pick it up or when you see it, you know what the hell it was. Quick glance up here, 3 globes. This was a statement on population growth. There's just a few too many people on this planet, and we can't quite sustain it anymore. This is called Google Earth. And this is the military. You see how the Americans are the cowboys up there? While the rest of the world is kind of aiming their guns back at us. We've got to rethink the military machine that we've created, and it's costing us dearly. Notice a lot of pans, a lot of masks, I do a lot of plasma cutting, which is a metal cutting machine, uses an arc. Obviously, I love faces. I'm really drawn to the connection that I have with you and what I see, and what I see when I look in the mirror. It's kind of about self-reflection. It's also about looking out at the larger world and seeing humanity. I'm not one of these landscape guys. I'm trying to find it in my soul and my heart, and find that language that talks to you too. Come on down, I'll show you the workspace. Now, although I do most of the work down here, each room has a purpose. The middle room I do wire figures, anything that's not really dirty. The front room, I do any hand. I've got the dust collector set up there. I utilize it because my first studio was one room, and this was the kind of fishbowl that I was stuck in. And it was critical for me to find a space where people could see, again, the act of creation. And that's why I welcome you to come down and see what I do. So this is where all the dirty work happens, the grinding, the welding, the plasma cutting. It's all done right here. And I found that really, you'll say, yeah, it looks really tight, but all you need is enough space to create the piece. And probably, where I can step back here and get the 10 feet I need to see how it's balancing out, or I can get up on the steps and take another look at it. You don't need much room to create, because your hands won't go any farther than this. You've got to be able to touch it. Here's a piece I just finished for the Bakken Museum. This is based on alternative energy. We've got a solar panel, which even in this space is lighting up. It charges a battery in the base, and the battery powers this electromagnet. And when you push in the belly button, the electromagnet is energized, and there's a fluid in there called ferrofluid. And it's nanoparticles of iron that are in a oil substrate. And so kids love this. I'm bringing it out to Burning Man in a few weeks, out to the desert. They're going to love it too. Again, talking about allowing people to see what I do. This is the piece I'm working on right now. This was an old mannequin that I'm completely covering with piano parts. So I've got probably 7 sets. You know, I found that the best way to find things is to go to the source. If you want dentures, go ask your dentist. If you want bowling balls, go to the bowling alley. If you want piano parts, find somebody that you know that rehabs pianos, or at this point go to Craigslist because people are throwing them out. But this gives you a sense of kind of what you can do with piano, playing with color, playing with design. There was a man I did a few months ago, so like Adam, I've got to create Eve. So. Quick glance back here. This was a piece I did called W. This was back when George was president, and he would turn it on, and I saw him as the scarecrow filled with hot air, and he was, in my mind, not very patriotic. The flag was upside down, so it's not something I proselytize on anyone. It's just my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. There are many of you that believe that he was our best president, so be it. Again, back to these puppets that I was mentioning upstairs. These are puppets that were made for a company in New York. It was Puppet Troupe, and they're all kind of accentuate, you know, some of them are more articulated than others. They all have different ways that they move. But there's something about the act of touching and manipulation that I'm really attracted to. Here's one of the last pieces I'm going to show you. And this is back to the silverware, just like the puppets. This was a piece that I made last year. The hardest part really was going to the Salvation Army every couple days and trying to find the symmetrical elements. Because when I initially started out, it was becoming asymmetrical and it just did not look right. So it was a matter of going, you know, and magically they all appeared. You know, you could find people discarding stuff that is, I think when you wish for something hard enough, it's going to come true. So I wish that you would come to Gypsy Lee's and see some of my work, and hopefully you'll find an experience there that will be unlike anything else you've ever seen. So come on down. Thanks.